Horses have a better sense of smell than humans and can notice subtle cues that we might not. They've developed a sixth sense to help them experience energy and feelings that the rest of us can't. After Jolene Jonas realized she was pregnant with her first child, their horse acted up. They were happy, but the horse started acting really strange. To be safe, they saw a doctor who promptly called the police after looking at their sonogram. Jolene and Ricky were stunned to see Jolene was expecting their first child. Jolene and her partner had been trying to conceive for 2 years before she finally got pregnant. They were ecstatic. Ricky and Jolene were excited about the new experience. Others weren't as excited. Their horse, Keola, had an opposing view. Keola began responding strangely toward Jolene, despite her regular pregnancy. She kissed, hugged, and licked her stomach. This happened despite Jolene's regular pregnancy. He continued after Jolene ordered him to stop. She was ignored. This was true despite the baby's healthy growth and development. Because Jolene and Ricky didn't understand Keola activities, they ignored him. The choice was taken because Jolene and Ricky didn't understand Keola actions. Until week 25, the pregnancy went smoothly. Jolene's back hurt terribly. Ricky rushed her to the hospital because she was in tremendous pain. Jolene's doctor ordered an ultrasound. The doctor was surprised by the ultrasound and called the authorities immediately. Jolene regretted ignoring her horse's advice. How'd they get here? Jolene and Ricky have been together forever, since they were 16. After getting married and living together, they bought their first horse, Keola. But despite this, their partnership had problems like any other. Jolene couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with her, but she didn't know what. They spent the next few years assembling their lives. Even though they were making progress, Jolene was worried about several things, despite progress this happened. Since she met Ricky, Jolene has struggled to acclimate to their complicated relationship. This has hampered her. Ricky had always shown her care while she was struggling. Jolene was worried that Ricky would never tell her his past. She'd been with Ricky for a while considering how long they'd been together. This was especially true. Could he have been trying to change the subject to avoid a certain topic? So was he successful? Jolene often asked him to tell her, but he always refused. Jolene repeatedly asked for the secret. Ricky says he doesn't have a family and is uncomfortable discussing anything even slightly linked to the subject. Ricky says he doesn't have a family. Since he's uncomfortable talking about it, he wants to put the past behind him and move on. Jolene was nearly accepting of the situation and making peace it. Ricky had demonstrated similar habits since the beginning of their engagement, and he was unlikely to change this. This secretiveness was one of Jolene's few shortcomings, though. It was one of her few defects, but she could live with it. Immediately or soon, the pair dated for over 10 years before deciding to get married. After this realization, they exchanged vows. They delayed their wedding while saving money. When they checked their funds, they had inadequate money. At the wedding, she did everything she could to make sure Jolene met Ricky's folks. She fought for Jolene's chance. Ricky only invited his pals, which may not have shocked Jolene, but disappointed her. Ricky's wedding was invited only. Only Ricky's family and friends attended the wedding. Only his friends from when she knew and were included. These people were included. No one could claim to have known Ricky before he came to the big metropolis at 16 years old. Considering everything else, this didn't concern Jolene much. Even though some of his relatives couldn't come, the wedding was gorgeous, and they got along great. They'd never been emotionally and romantically close before. As a result, they decided to take another step. They wanted more kids that didn't work out as planned. In the outset of their efforts to start a baby, even becoming pregnant was challenging. Ricky and Jolene began to doubt their skills, which hurt their confidence. It's conceivable they lack some knowledge needed to make an informed decision concerning their health. They deliberated and decided that going to the hospital was the best option. Ricky and Jolene underwent a series of tests to prove they were in good health. Exam results suggested the pair stopped breathing for a few days. They were told the doctor said he'd phone with the results soon he had them. The couple became apprehensive when the doctor called and ordered them to come to his clinic. They were tense the whole trip to the faraway hospital. What would happen if they couldn't find adoptable children? The doctor's ability to relieve pressure is also a blessing. He told them everything was okay, and they were both healthy. He said there's no reason to worry. Ricky and Jolene felt better when everything was resolved. Further reassurance was on the way. After premarital examinations and medical checkups, Jolene was pregnant in less than a week. The couple's prenuptial examinations revealed this. It felt like God had blessed or gifted us. When they learned this, they were overjoyed and notified everyone they could. Everyone was ecstatic for them and expressed their joy in many ways. Their pregnant horse Keola seemed miserable, which worried them. She seemed lonely too. She also seemed unhappy with the pregnancy, started acting strangely. Keola seemed to love licking Jolene's stomach at first. Her frequent behavior reinforced this notion. Later, he began additional unusual habits because Jolene's uneasiness escalated due to his activities. It's clear they caused it. Keola felt possessive of Jolene and began hugging her when she was pregnant. This persisted to the end. This took time. They had trouble explaining what happened. Was he afraid? Or maybe Keola had to solve an issue on his own. They took Keola to the vet before bringing her home to make sure she was healthy. He may have been attempting to inform you he wasn't feeling well. It may have meant that the veterinarian performed diagnostic procedures to check the patient's health. I found nothing unusual in the nearby area. Keola's demeanor never changed, not even slightly. Worse came, Jolene decided to perform internet study to better comprehend this strange behavior. Her mother advised her not to place too much confidence in what she reads online because the internet is full of deceptive information. This was her mother's best advice. Jolene waited a few hours before the doctor returned, but he had excellent news. Everything was well. They had no worries. In her 25th week of pregnancy, her doctor recommended a second scan. Jolene experienced severe back discomfort at 23 weeks pregnant, continued throughout her pregnancy. She told Ricky they needed to get to the hospital quickly since she wasn't well. Ricky called 911 immediately to seek an ambulance at the accident scene. Due to traffic, they were expected to be there for a while. As soon as the new mother and baby arrived at the hospital, the doctor wanted to run an ultrasound to check on the baby's health and make sure everything was normal. The doctor's expression shifted as he viewed the ultrasound data. After waiting longer than expected, law enforcement authorities arrived and asked Ricky to follow them. "Sir, we're investigating your wife." They said, "Your wife is under scrutiny." The news stunned Ricky, surprised him. "I'm curious about their reservations about him, so please tell me." At first it appeared they were asking about ordinary topics and subjects. Because of this, they assumed Ricky and Jolene's identities, in-house location. After that, the agent's public behavior changed. Ricky was stunned by the new revelation and began asking questions to make sense of it. They asked who they were, where they'd been, and what they'd been doing. They also asked weird questions about the pregnant woman's condition. What about Jolene's pregnancy piqued police enforcement interest. Ricky was unaware of the exchange. Ricky was surprised and irritated by the officers' queries. Why did they need to know everything? In a heated moment, he told the police, "Do your job and leave me alone." Police didn't like his comments, and he soon regretted his decision. The police thought their line of questioning was relevant to the investigation. Thus, they didn't like his answer. Ricky had to accompany them to the police station to report the event. Job requirements, Ricky panicked since he didn't want to leave his wife in the hospital alone because she might give birth soon. Ricky was forced to comply with the authorities and had no choice. They promised him they'd explain the matter as promised, and he accepted their word. Jolene panicked when she saw her husband leaving the hospital with cops. Jolene was concerned about her spouse. She was worried they incarcerated him. The doctor then approached her. The doctor stated surgery was the only option, so said the doctor. These steps were required to ensure their child's health and happiness. The doctor can't supply any extra information because the cops told them to keep quiet. The doctor advised Jolene she can address the matter on her own. She chose whether to get surgery. She had complete autonomy over this. She didn't give it much thought because she knew it would benefit their child. Almost quickly after I asked her, she said yes, only waiting for the operation and her husband, Ricky's arrival remained. She had no choice. She waited an hour before entering the surgical room. Ricky was questioned further at the local police station. Ricky was detained at the moment. They initially seemed straightforward. They escorted Ricky into a room to be questioned later. As the situation grew more strange, it was bizarre, interesting, and breathtaking. These feelings happened simultaneously. Ricky's wrath was clearly growing over time. First, he had to report to the police station, and now is being questioned further. Why was that location important? The events that happened surprised and bewildered him. After that, the police could finally talk about their past. On the other side of the window, the five crooks stood together. Ricky was asked if he knew someone to answer this query. He must answer yes or no. To his amazement, he recognized someone in the room. Ricky was thinking about the other prisoner and wondering how he had gotten into such a terrible predicament. It was a personal contact. Why did he go there? Because Ricky's situation was so unusual, the police gave him more background when he recognized his daughter. Because Ricky's situation was so uncommon, the officers gave him background. The officers gave Ricky more background once he recognized his daughter in the video. Jolene's doctor found an unapproved medical chip in her body. Cops told Ricky Jolene's exam revealed the chip. The chip could control drugs that was illegal back then. Ricky's doctor included it in Jolene's medication. Therefore, his name is on the label. Ricky took Jolene's medication. This made things clear. Ricky's troubles weren't over because Jolene remained in the hospital. Ricky drove to the nearest medical institution. We appreciate the officers who drove him to the scene. Ricky arrived and searched everywhere for Jolene, but he couldn't find her. Where'd she go? He became enraged. I wonder how things were going and if they were doing well. He then saw Jolene's doctor. He left towards panic. He raced in the direction he came from. Ricky struggled to keep his calm when the doctor told him to in front of the patients, and they could tell. Body language showed other patients he was having problems. After Ricky's brief breath, the doctor told him where Jolene was. Ricky was relieved. Doctor said Ricky had a medical chip placed. Doctor told Ricky to remove the chip because implanting it was illegal. Ricky's doctor told him this. Ricky was worried about the baby's development and health. Ricky gets thorough instructions on how to follow the doctor's orders. Ricky followed the doctor's directions the entire way to operation room to treat Jolene. This secured Jolene's care. Ricky quickly had a doctor examine her and the baby. Ricky found a qualified doctor quickly after scheduling an appointment for her and the baby. The patient was told the good news their doctor had received earlier in the day. Both Julene and the baby were healthy, which bodes well for the family's future. They removed the medical chip because they suspected it was causing her acute back pain. This knowledge helped them fix the problem. It wasn't necessary for her to give birth right now. Julene was allowed to move back into her home following a breakup. Julia was 40 weeks pregnant when she gave birth. Her mother delivered it, and if they shared the story of her birth this way, she'd read about it on her 10th birthday, whenever that would be.